Hello and welcome back to Continental Club Xtra. I'm joined by Michael McCubbin and Mina, football freelancer and broadcaster journalist who's currently freelancing with The Athletic. Mina, welcome back to Football Daily. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me back. It's nice to be back. 61 games?
I know.
Oh man, World Cup is coming to an end. I'm kind of gutted, but also I'm kind of done with football for a bit.
She wants a Christmas break. But not before we analyse this game, because we know the identity of our first finalist for Qatar 2022. It is Argentina, after they comfortably beat Croatia 3-0, thanks to a goal from Messi and a brace from Julian Alvarez. Mina, before we get into talking about Messi, obviously, in Argentina and their path to a 6th World Cup final, I think only Germany have gone to more with 8. Let's talk about Croatia, because they did very well to get to the semi-finals, rode their luck at times, but ultimately came unstuck.
Yeah, I think arguably they got the best midfield in the World Cup. I think Modric, Kovacic, Brozovic, absolutely class. But today I just think Argentina got their tactics right. Even the manager said it going into the Brazil game for Croatia, that if they are able to control the midfield, that they are able to control the game, and I think Croatia just couldn't do that at times today. I think Argentina were playing with a 4-4-2, which I'm more used to seeing them playing with a more wider formation. Today they played a lot more narrow, and I think that worked in their favour, and it kind of, Kovacic was getting forward quite often. He was progressing the ball, and I think Brozovic going off in the second half, I think that's when their momentum just went down in midfield. I think Croatia, they're a team that retain possession. They don't play, entertaining football, but they do play, classy football in midfield. And I do think if they had a number 9, an out-and-out striker like Julian Alvarez, or like, I don't know, someone like Harry Kane, hypothetically speaking, if they had an out-and-out 9, they could definitely compete at a better standard that they are right now. Because right now, a lot of people were saying they might have been riding their luck. But luck doesn't get you to 2 semi-finals.
No, absolutely not.
At some point, there's quality involved in there, and I do think the biggest quality they had was their midfield. They came through that Dynamo system. They know how to play together. They know how to play in a way that gets the best out of the players around them, even if those players are not amazing. They do have a good team, but I just think today Argentina was just a better team.
Yeah, I thought Croatia started really well for the first 30 minutes or so, controlled possession as you say, but without really creating anything. It's the same story throughout this tournament. I think their forwards have really let them down at points. McCubbs, let's talk about the goals briefly. Yeah. The first one was Livakovic coming off his line and bringing down Alvarez. There's a bit of a debate in the ITV, one of the English TV channels, about whether it was a penalty or not. Peter Walton versus the pundits. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a penalty, wasn't it? I mean, Gary Neville had me for a moment, but I think, when you actually look at it, it's like, he went to make a challenge of sorts. He didn't get the ball, and it's basically as simple as that. I think if a defender does that, it's essentially the same. But at the same time, that did come. I think even if you could argue that it wasn't a penalty, it wasn't clear enough for him to have a second look at it anyway. So I think, it's a bit of a moot point, I think. But at the same time, it came at a really crucial moment. And I think, we talk about Croatia riding their luck a little bit in this tournament. At least I think they were a bit lucky to get out of the group. Not so lucky to beat Brazil, I don't think. I thought they, did, hit them at the right moment in that game and were excellent. But here, I think, Livakovic making that challenge at that point at a time when, Argentina were fairly, not under the cosh, but they certainly weren't dominating the game. They certainly hadn't created almost anything up until that point. It just swung the tie in their favour, I think. And then, what was it? Less than 5 minutes later, Julian Alvarez goes through, and Juranovic and Sosa both massively at fault, I think. But at the same time, you have to credit Alvarez as well. I think, Mina, you were saying before we came in here that he had 10 separate touches in the build-up to that goal. So I mean, it was great. It's I think the mental strength of someone like Alvarez is really evident, like in the way that he's moved to Man City and very, very quickly looks very comfortable with Premier League football. He's made his debut in a major tournament this year and has looked incredibly comfortable in all the games. He's incredibly efficient. Obviously, his finishing ability is great, but I think 2 shots today, both of those goals. I think that might have been the case against Australia as well. I think he might have scored with his only effort on goal. But it was interesting, this game, because Argentina have averaged around 62% possession in games going into this one at the tournament, and they just let Croatia have the ball. Like, they had 39% possession throughout the game. I know, game state plays a role in that. That first half, I think that was the game plan, and there was probably a plan to, maybe take more of the initiative in terms of ball playing. If the game stayed 0-0, and Croatia are obviously happy, to play for penalties if they need to. So yeah, I guess going 2-0 up in the first half just meant that they could kind of just stick with that game plan. Not have to work Messi too hard, just let him take the initiative when he needs to. He ended up having more touches than anyone else in the Argentina team today, so we can't discount his influence in the game. But yeah, it was just ended up being a very assured performance from Argentina, and it rested on those two moments in the first half. I do feel like Croatia could have made more of a mark on this game. If not, in the end, they were taking pot shots from 30 yards out, and yeah, they just didn't make their possession count. But I think, yeah, it does go back to that number 9 thing. I think, they got to the final last time. Mandzukic scored the goal that got them there. Like, if a Mandzukic 4 years younger was in this Croatia team, like, there's every chance that they could have got even further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Perisic had, 13 shots in the tournament. I think he scored once. I think Kramaric scored 2 from 9 attempts, both of which against Canada. But it's worth talking about Alvarez a little bit more, because I think that's 4 World Cup goals now in 6 appearances. That's half of Maradona's total in his entire career, which just goes to show how seamlessly, as Makub says, he's taken to the international stage and just football in general. Only 22 years old, but already seems like the perfect foil for Lionel Messi. Mina, what did you notice from a sort of tactical point of view that sort of swung the game in Scaloni's side's favour? Was there just the changes went wrong for Croatia, or was there a player or a moment that sort of, wrestled back initiative?
I think the first thing that I noticed is Enzo Fernandez and Julian Alvarez. They weren't in the starting lineup at the beginning of the tournament. Talking about Alvarez, he only made his debut June last year. He scored his first senior goal at the beginning of this year, and now he's got 6 goals in 8 starts, and 4 of those are at a World Cup, at his debut World Cup. I think that is one thing that definitely Scaloni got right, because he probably looked at Lautaro and thought, okay, Alvarez is offering me more at the moment. So, and talking about Enzo and Alvarez particularly, the first penalty that they got, came from them. It was Enzo to Alvarez. But one thing that I don't think a lot of people noticed is that Messi dropped a bit deep, which kind of sucked Guardiola out of position, and suddenly there was a whole space in the back line of Croatia to utilise. And I think that's one thing that worked in their favour. And for a team that started off the tournament playing quite wide and playing against today a good midfield, Argentina were going narrow. All their first 2 goals came from
Straight down the middle.
Literally straight down the middle. And I think a big part of it is Croatia's backline. Guardiola has been one of the best defenders in the World Cup. And today, I don't want to be harsh, because I do think he had a good performance, but even with the Messi assist, it just shows that Messi's ability to I'm just amazed sometimes when I watch him, because his ability to speed up, slow down, and make the right decision just made the defender just look like amateur. And it's no insult to him, because he's had a great tournament, but it just shows the level of class that Messi is still playing with. I think the Enzo and Alvarez call to give them the starts today was the right calls. I think the change in tactical formation from Scaloni he was playing a 4-4-2, but it was really a 4-2-2-2 at some points, especially in transition when they were attacking. And I think that definitely worked in their favour. And, they were 2-0 up against the Netherlands, and today they were 2-0 up against Croatia. And to me, they looked different today against Croatia. Whether it was because Croatia weren't as hungry maybe as the Netherlands were, I'm not too sure. But I think Argentina were just more in control of the game today. And I think it just shows. And it's funny because, again, I'm going to talk about Alvarez, because I think he's a big part of this Argentina, the momentum that they've got. He was 14 years old the last time they made a World Cup, and now he's got 4 goals in a World Cup, and he's probably only just going to get better. Yeah,
absolutely. And it was interesting that in their game against the Netherlands, they went to a back 5 to match them up, and I think they didn't look great in that game. I don't think they've looked great in many of the games leading up to this point, maybe except for that Poland game. But tonight there was a lot more fluency, and they just looked so solid defensively. I think they conceded 1.9 expected goals in 5 games going into this one. And this one was very, very comfortable as well. And partly that's down to Croatia's front line not being that effective, but I think that also massive credit goes to Otamendi. I think he's had an excellent tournament. Tagliafico stepped in for Acuna today. I thought he was great at left back. Molina's come in and, after a slow start to the tournament, had a great game against the Netherlands, grabbed that goal. And we talked about Messi making Gvardiol look average as well. He made Ake, who had a great tournament, look pretty average for that goal the other day that he created. So Messi, even at his age, what is it now, 5 goals and 3 assists in this World Cup, absolutely frightening. McCubs, if you are France or Morocco, what are you doing to stop the man? I mean, we've been asking the same questions for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
3 man on all time, something like that. I mean, it's almost impossible because, like Mina was saying, I guess, one of the things that's, kind of defined Argentina's progression through this tournament is the fact that, the prominence of someone like Alvarez now on the side means that, if you try and stop Messi, then Alvarez is just going to be in loads of space. So in that sense, it's really, really difficult. You have to just try and stop the ball getting to him in the first place more than anything else. Or at least try and pin him back when he drops deep to get the ball. I wish I had the answers, Dukes. I mean, I think the England-France game, the way that England dealt with Mbappe, I think they're the first team to really silence him in a game is, in some ways a bit of a blueprint. And also I think, a team like France and Morocco actually are again, they're going to be probably let Argentina have a lot more of the ball than Croatia would have. So I think it's just, adopting a super defensive approach, really. I think it's just about, playing a mid to low block, just not giving Messi any space between the lines, essentially, and then hoping for the best. I think that's
praying is praying is the crucial factor for sure. I mean, Mina, you've been really impressed with Morocco throughout this tournament. Sofian Amrabat's been playing with injections, but he's probably been the best defensive midfielder in this competition. Would you just be putting him, if it was Morocco in the final, up to Messi? And do you think Morocco, if it was to be them in the final, have any chance against Argentina?
I think with Morocco it's a difficult one because defensively they're so compact. They are happy for the opposition to have the ball for 70% of the game, and then they will catch you on the counter attack. And I think Argentina are there to concede goals. They've shown us that they can concede goals this tournament, but it's one of those ones where it's Messi. Today we saw him off the ball, making a movement where a defender just followed him, and that created another opportunity for his teammates. And it's something like that. Even with his assist to Alvarez for the 3rd goal, I remember when he dribbled into the box, 5 guys were just staring at him, and I'm not talking about the restaurant. 5 guys were staring at him, which left Julian Alvarez completely open. So even if you try to shut him out of the game and you follow him when he drops deep, that opens up space. And even when you try to focus on him, it opens up space. So Morocco, one thing that I can say is obviously they defend well, they defend compact, they defend as a unit, and they've only conceded 1 goal this tournament, which was an own goal. If they can utilise that and score on the counter, I think that they could give Argentina a good game. But it would definitely be a game similar to Portugal and the Spain game, where they would let Argentina have more of the ball, and that's just how they play, and that's how they play it at the World Cup and even at African Cup of Nations. With France, I'd think that would be a more interesting matchup because I think like for like across the pitch, Argentina and France can kind of match up in terms of the quality of the players that they have. So if you're a proper, football fanatic and you want to see great football, I know a lot of people want to see France versus Argentina, but if you want that underdog story, people might want to see Argentina versus Morocco. And if you just want justice in football and you want Messi to get a World Cup, then people are just going to want Messi to win it.
Yeah. I like it. A lot of narratives going on. Guys, we will be back on Football Daily tomorrow to talk about the result of France versus Morocco and who is facing Argentina in that final. It's going to be hugely, hugely exciting. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and leave a comment in the comment section down below and subscribe to EuroFootball Daily while you're at it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you next time. Goodbye.